If you want to lose 1 pound a week, which is the safe and recommended amount of weight loss, especially for ladies, then you need to dial in and understand your nutrition, and you need to understand calories. Because in order to lose a pound a week, you need a daily calorie deficit of around about 300 to 500 calories. Now, obviously, it does vary from person to person, and it does depend how much you were eating to begin with and how big your deficit can be. And it depends on so many factors, but you need to aim for a decent deficit. I personally wouldn't go lower than 500 calorie deficit. You can always slowly bring that deficit a little bit down as you lose a bit of weight. But remember, if you are eating 3,000 calories currently and you slash those calories to 1,500, you've slashed your calories in half all of a sudden. That is a shock to your body, and I wouldn't do that. So let's say you are currently eating 3,000 calories. How will you know this? You will know this by going onto an online calorie calculator, possibly tracking your food for a week. So when you go onto the online calorie calculator, it will ask you your current weight, your height, your age, your sex, your activity level, and it will spit out the amount of calories that you're probably eating to maintain that body weight. But if you want to be super accurate, you can track your food on a food tracking app for a week. You get the average, but you need to track accurately. You need to weigh your food. You need to get the right measurements of how much food you are eating. So tracking can also be tricky, but let's say you've got around 3,000 calories. I would cut down to 2,500 calories, and then I would lose a bit of weight, and then I would cut down further. For most women to hit their goal weight, and I'm just saying like an average, smallish built, my height is kind of normal height, 1.65 centimeters, somewhere around there, you are going to probably eat in the range of 1,600 calories. It could be a bit more, it could be a bit less, to come down to your ideal or your lean body weight. It does vary. It depends on your activity level. It depends on your age. It depends, obviously, if you're male or female, but I'm talking to women. And it does depend also on your stress, your lifestyle, how much sleep you're getting. So ladies, I want you to understand that weight loss, we can think of it as like the 4 pillars of weight loss as well, in order to lose that kind of rough, steady pound a week, which is safe, sustainable. It's not going to throw your body into a shock. Now, I did make a video on how to lose a dress size in 4 weeks. That is faster weight loss. That is for an event. It is not something I recommend all the time. So if you want to watch that video, I will link to it in the description box below. But for sort of slow, steady, sustainable weight loss, a pound a week is very doable. A pound is about half a kilogram for those of you who speak in kilograms like me. And that, like, weight loss is never linear. It will probably fluctuate like that, but on average, you're going to lose roughly around half a kilogram a week. And remember one thing, all you need to do is lose 1 pound, and then you need to repeat that and lose another pound. So don't focus on, oh my God, I've got 20 pounds to lose, or oh my God, I've got 50 pounds to lose. Focus on just the 1 pound. And if you achieve that, celebrate that win, not with food, but celebrate that win internally and know that you did it. And don't think of it as a fluke. Don't think of it as, oh, it's just water weight. Even if it is water weight, you've done something. And then you do it again, and then you do it again. And that is how you slowly lose a pound, a pound, a pound, and you will get your goal weight. And sure, it might not always be on the down. You may take a few steps backwards before you take some steps forwards. But in order to lose that pound a week, I really do need you to understand how much you are currently eating to be at the weight that you don't want to be. Let's say 2,000, 3,000 calories. You are now going to create a deficit. The only way you know if you are in a deficit is, number one, if you are losing weight, and number two, if you are somehow tracking your food or knowing how much you are eating. How are you going to know how much you're eating? You either need to follow a meal plan and follow it pretty strictly. So let's say you have found a meal plan online. I can also help you with that. I do customized and pre-made meal plans. So if you want a meal plan, email me at louisecorrins.yt@gmail.com and I can get one to you. So you would need to follow that meal plan according to everything it says. How much food, how much rice, how much broccoli, how many apple slices, how much liquid, how much whatever. You follow that meal plan. By liquid, I mean liquid calories. And then you know, okay, this is a 1,600 calorie meal plan. It's hitting this amount of protein. It's hitting this amount of fiber. You stick to that. Or if you want to take control and get creative, I always highly recommend using a food tracking app. I use Fat Secret when I do track. I don't track all the time. My Fitness Pal is excellent. I'm sure that there are many, many more out there nowadays. And I know, as one of you had commented, food tracking can be a pain. It's bothersome. I get it. You don't need to track forever, but when you are serious about losing weight and you want to take control of your weight loss journey, it is so valuable. I actually don't know how I ever competed without a food tracking app in the early days, but then I followed a plan and I just stuck to the plan. So in a way, it's kind of the same because the plan tracked what you were eating. And if you deviated, you knew you deviated. So I guess it was the same thing. But nowadays, make life easy for yourself. Use technology. Use these online calorie calculators. Get your number. Use a food tracking app. And then you do need to weigh or measure yourself to see if you are making progress, because if you want to lose weight, then you do need to see if the scale is budging. Now, if you add in resistance training, you may put on a little bit of muscle. You may also carry a little bit of inflammation, a little bit of water in your muscles. And so your weight might not necessarily go down as fast as you would like it to. And I know that this is one of the frustrations of adding in weight training whilst you are losing weight. The benefit, however, and hear me now, understand me later. The benefit of weight training, ladies, is that you're preserving your lean muscle tissue, maybe even building some if possible, hopefully. And that lean muscle tissue does burn a few more calories at rest than if you had fat there. So it is beneficial. And it's metabolically active. It soaks up all the carbs and the glucose that you eat, and it's good for your health, your long-term longevity. So I do want you to think about building muscle as well. I know a lot of you just want to be skinny. I get it. It is an aesthetic ideal from the 80s and the 90s. And I understand that a lot of you don't care about muscle. But again, hear me now, understand me later. I love that saying. You, in your midlife, need to think about your bones, your bone health and osteoporosis. So please don't neglect weight training. It is not going to make you super bulky. You may get some definition. And yes, I understand. If you put on a bit of muscle, you are worried that the little bit of extra muscle plus a little bit of fat, if you don't lose the fat, your arm is going to look bigger or whatever the case. I understand the fear and you have a point. But the thing is, if you're on a weight loss journey and you just lose a whole lot of weight, you're probably going to lose some muscle along with that, plus some fat, and you may get that skinny fat look and it's a little bit flabby. And you might think, well, that's fine as long as I lose some weight. And maybe to start off with, that is fine. And so maybe in the beginning, if you have a lot of weight to lose, I would advise you to do a lot of just gentle exercises, walking, especially if you have quite a bit of weight that could put stress and strain on your joints and your heart as well. So get yourself down to a more reasonable size, but then I would strongly advise weight training. So to me, the pillars of losing a pound a week sustainably are nutrition. You need to track your food. You need to eat in a deficit, but still not too low. Don't slash your calories too low. Do not cut them in half. Do not go below 1,000 calories. Normally, I would say 1,200 calories, but I also understand I have some friends that are very tiny women, and for them, they may need to go a little bit lower if they want to lose weight. However, for most ladies, please don't go below 1,200 calories. The reason is when we are in our 40s and over, anything that stresses us will stress us a bit more because our cortisol, apparently, I learned this from researching for my new book, our cortisol does not return to baseline as fast as it used to, which means we get stressed. And you might even notice this. You feel a little bit more hyped up for longer because your body is not, something to do with perimenopause and the estrogen dipping, it doesn't return to baseline quite as fast. And so obviously that contributes to belly fat storage as well. So what we want to do is not stress ourselves out. Create a small deficit. In the beginning, if you're not used to exercise, please do something gentle. If you are used to exercise, continue on with hopefully your weight training or strength training and build up progressive overload. 4 times a week is great. Adding in your cardio for another 2 days of the week. Please, if you're over 40, 45, take a day and use that as your rest day. Please take 1 day off to rest. Rest and recovery are so important for building muscle, bringing your cortisol down. It's good for your mind. It's good for everything. And you're not going to miss out if you have 1 day of rest, if you have done some smart, clever exercise throughout the week. By smart and clever, I mean weight training. You could do 1 or 2 HIIT sessions. You could go for power walks, a jog if you enjoy, biking, cycling, swimming, whatever that is. A nice blend of cardio and weight training is always the sweet spot. But again, do what you can. The other pillar of losing weight, now I touched upon stress reduction, which is very important, but sleep. And I know we hear about this all the time on social media, and I feel like I'm just repeating what I hear, and I do, but I test everything out in my own life. If you don't get a good night's sleep and you do that over and over again, it just builds up this horrible response in your body. Your hunger hormones rise, and they've got all these fancy names, leptin and ghrelin, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to go into all that, but your hunger hormones rise, you crave more sugar, and you will probably store it a little bit more around your belly. Sleep really is, it's like the little secret magic key to help you with weight loss. Now, sleep alone, if you just slept a lot, but you still ate in a surplus, you're not going to lose weight. But it's that little like sprinkle on the top. So your number one thing to safely lose 1 pound a week, you need to be in a calorie deficit. And as I mentioned, you create that by reducing your daily calorie intake, and you have to track or follow a plan to know that you are in a deficit. The other way you create a deficit is if you are not moving and exercising, you add in movement and exercise whilst following your plan, and that could either help you bring your deficit from 300 calories in nutrition, and now with a movement, you've created a 500 calorie daily deficit. That's perfect. That's absolutely great. You could also think of it like a 250 calorie deficit in your nutrition. So your exercise gives you more room to play, and then you create a little bit more of a deficit with the exercise. That is also the beauty of exercising while you are on a weight loss journey. It gives you more calories to eat in a day. And I think that is a smart way to lose weight. You don't want to just cut calories. You will feel hungry, probably. You will binge. You'll feel that like crash. Now, they say your hormones crash. Your thyroid could take a knock if you do this all the time. You know, when we were younger, we could bounce back from doing these kinds of crazy things. I'm not the hugest fan of intermittent fasting, especially not in our 40s. There's so much debate around intermittent fasting. But for me, as somebody who is active, who goes to the gym, who wants to maintain her muscle mass and even build a little bit of muscle mass, for me, intermittent fasting is not a smart thing to do. If you enjoy it and you find you're just not hungry at certain times of the day, I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't say it's the worst thing in the world, but I wouldn't do long, like anything more than 36 hours. So for me, it could be like a time restricted feeding or something like that. But you just need to find a way that works for you. Now, what should you eat in order to lose weight? I do feel like I repeat myself in every video, but I think by now you guys know I advocate, when I say high protein, it's not extremely high. When you eat this way, you'll see that it's moderate, medium amounts of protein at your 3 main meals. And even if you include some protein in your snacks, that's great. I would say aim for 1 gram of dietary protein per pound of your lean or your ideal body weight. So not your body weight that you're starting at, but your goal body weight. For me, that's roughly 50 kilograms, roughly 110 pounds. So roughly I should be eating 100 to 110 grams of protein. That's not that much, but it's a good idea to start in the morning with your protein. So at breakfast, get eggs in. You can have supper for breakfast. Why not? You could have steak, you could have fish, you could have chicken, turkey, anything at breakfast. You could mix and match your meals, but try and include some lean, whole food sources of protein. If you're vegan, I'm not the best at advising, but I know besides tofu, you guys know what are high protein sources for you. And I know you need to combine pulses and grains, for example, in order to get the full amino acid profile. And that is what really is important, is getting that full amino acid profile, because it's the amino acids in the protein that signal muscle synthesis and repair. So that is why we are trying to get protein at every meal. It's to trigger that muscle response, that muscle protein synthesis response. So ideally, especially over 40, because we are a little bit anabolic resistant, you want to have a bigger dose, not lots of little bits of protein throughout the day. So maybe 3 bigger doses rather than like 6 small protein meals scattered throughout the day, just to trigger, to tell your body like, hey, you know, we've got, and the important one is leucine. But anyway, so you're aiming for 1 gram of protein per pound of lean or ideal body weight daily. I strongly recommend you up your fiber intake. It's good for your gut bacteria. It offers prebiotics. It's good for longevity. It keeps you feeling fuller for longer. Fiber, you poop some of it out as well. So there's a benefit for weight loss. So your total carbs, obviously, some of it goes away. Also, a little side note on protein. Protein is the highest thermic macro, meaning you burn 20 to 30% of the calories in the protein just digesting it. So there's a little bit of a calorie win there for you. Fiber, you also have the same. You do need, I would say for ladies, 100 to 150 grams of carbs a day, especially if you're active and weight training. If you are sedentary and you can't or don't want to exercise, you could do higher fats. I'm not opposed to keto, but it didn't work for me. I found that I have a video on that as well. You can find that on my channel. Just type in Louise Corrins Keto. But for me, I cramped, even though I gave it everything. I tried everything. And I've discovered that carbs work really well for some people and obviously keto for others. So you need to find what works for you. In my book, The Ultimate Fat Loss Blueprint for Women, I actually have 3 meal plans that you can follow. A vegan one, a keto one, and what I prefer, the high protein, it's not that high fiber meal plan, a balanced meal plan. And I advocate eating from whole foods and from nature. Now, the link to that book in the description box below, as always. So that book actually lays all of this out for you. It is a healthy, sustainable weight loss program. It goes a little bit into the science of it. But in order to lose 1 pound a week, you need to do what I'm speaking about in this video, and you need to do it consistently. If you deviate, do not feel guilty. It is not a time to beat yourself up. It is a time to just get right back up on the horse and carry on. That is the problem with a lot of us, is we want to be perfect. We want to do the diet, the eating, the exercise, giving up sugar, giving up alcohol, whatever it is perfectly. And then if we slip, I can't do it. And then you sort of say, fuck it. And you don't just get back to the healthy track that you were on. And that's what I want you to do. It's also about mindset as well. If you want to lose weight very sustainably, you need to keep at it and treat this as a lifestyle. So you will slip up now and then. We're all human. We all do. And that's fine. You also want to socialize. You want to enjoy time with your friends. And you need to build that in as well. Build in a cheat meal or a treat meal. There's no bad foods. A treat meal once or twice a week. And even plan for it around that meal in your food tracking app, so that you could possibly stay roughly within that calorie budget, even with that cheat meal. And it's very, very possible and doable. Don't overexert yourself in the gym or with training. Go in, go hard, go heavy, go with intensity and purpose, and then get out. Don't train for hours and hours and hours. Unless you love it, of course, that's totally fine. You don't need to do hours and hours of cardio. A walk here or there. Just try and aim for around about 10,000 steps in a day. If you don't hit it, it's okay. It's okay. More important is to feel relaxed, to de-stress yourself. That's very, very important for weight loss. Get good sleep. And I know that's tough to do, but try your best. Try everything. Try magnesium glycinate at night. L-theanine are 2 very good supplements. GABA is another one. Calm yourself. Make sure the room is dark. Try and cool it if possible. I know that what a lot of the social media and the YouTubers say is not always possible in reality, but all you have to aim for is to do your best. And these are all the pillars of weight loss that will help you to lose 1 pound a week. Weight loss is not that much of a mystery. If you find you're doing all of this and you're still stuck, you probably may need to see a doctor about hormones, thyroid medication, something like that. And I just want to touch quickly on hormones, because a lot of us are in menopause, perimenopause, and we may need a bit of hormonal support. So I'm on HRT. I have lots of videos on the topic. I'm not telling you what to do. What I find with perimenopause and menopause is that it makes us feel so shitty. We don't want to do any of this, and we are not up for it. Whereas if you are on HRT, and that again, it's a personal choice, but if you are, you may find you've got that mental energy. You just feel more like yourself. And then you feel, you know what, I'm ready to tackle healthy eating. I'm ready to tackle the gym. I'm ready to go for my walks and feel good again in my own skin. So I talk about that also in my book, The Ultimate Blueprint, The Ultimate Fat Loss Blueprint for Women. I say it so many times. And that book is available on Amazon. So there is your plan to lose a pound a week. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you guys in the next video. And I would love it if you watched this video next.